Well, first day I got kicked out.
You know, my agent called and said, "Hey, Cubs just selected you." I was like, "Yeah, I just saw it." So we used to have to look on the internet.
Yeah. We never seen a paper nail. I didn't know if it was nails in it or not. You know,
got me chills with that. Wow. What?
Did you even think you were going to make the team?
no.
Jersey doesn't really fit me. There's no name on my jersey.
Hi again, everybody. I'm Dan Hoard. Welcome to the Let's Rain podcast presented by Cincy Light, Cincinnati's light beer. We are coming to you from the LLH Healthcare Studio, and we are talking Bearcat basketball on this episode of the pod, featuring a former Bearcat great who has had a very interesting life. It includes 11 years in the NBA with a number of teams where he played with the likes of Michael Jordan, Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant, Magic Johnson, and others. I'm talking about former Bearcat big man Corie Blount. I think you're going to enjoy our conversation. And afterward, don't forget to like, rate, and subscribe. Before we get into my conversation, we remind you to stay in the game with University of Cincinnati Online. Expert faculty, driven peers, and flexible programs helping you build your future without putting life on hold. Become part of the Bearcat legacy at online.uc.edu. Our guest is UC Hall of Famer Corie Blount, who has packed a lot into his 56 years on planet Earth. We're going to get into some of that on this podcast. Let me start with this, though. You're from the L.A. area.
Yep.
You played in Chicago, you played in Los Angeles, you played in other major cities in your NBA career. Why did you wind up settling here?
Well, I think it's more so the fact that the success I had at the University of Cincinnati and the relationships and the community, kind of the way they embraced our team and the success we had, it just made it home. And then my wife was from Columbus, and she wasn't really willing to uproot and go to California immediately, where my family's from. So this is home for me, man. I've always had great success here, have established wonderful relationships, and I love the city. So I'm comfortable saying that this is home for me.
I obviously spent a lot of time with Terry Nelson. I'm amazed by the chemistry that the 92, 93 teams still have. You guys are in touch with each other every day.
Yeah, I think that stemmed from the success. I don't think it would have been that way if we would have been losing. But so, and then our journey, you know, the thing that we went through to get here as far as junior college guys, and then getting here and having the success we had, and then being able to feel that we represented the University of Cincinnati by making it a global brand at that time. We always talk about them days of going to the Final Four and the Elite Eight, and seeing the recognition that we've got just from the identity of our team back then. And it just brought us all together, and we knew we were a special group. You know, the characters on that team was also a part of that, because we all got along 1 through 12. And a lot of times we always talked about when you saw one of us, you usually saw all 12 of us. And I think that just carried over throughout the years.
The brotherhood is real. You celebrate each other's successes. You lift each other up when somebody's down. It is beyond the norm.
Yeah, we celebrate each other's accomplishments, definitely. Me and Nick were the only two that made it to the NBA, but I guarantee all those guys got a chance to experience that, because any city I was in or anywhere we were at, if they wanted to come to a game or come hang out with us on a different team, they were more than welcome. And I think that's the camaraderie we had back then. Like it was like an all for one and one for all, and we carried that out throughout the years. You know, the proudest thing that I'm proud of most about that group is, you know, all of us have our degrees now, especially the core guys who left early or didn't get it done. And we went out our way to kind of push each other like, man, you know, get your degree, and everybody's gotten it. So I think that kind of goes back to what you're saying, just that all for one mentality that we had.
All right, let's go back on your basketball journey, because people might not realize you were a late bloomer. You didn't really play organized basketball until you were a senior in high school, correct?
Correct. I tried out, of course, my junior year, and make a long story short, me and the coach didn't see eye to eye. He wanted someone who was serious and well refined, and I was raw and a little crazy at the time. I guess that's the best way to put it.
Team comedian?
Yeah, there you go. Couldn't focus. You know, they didn't call it ADHD back then, but I probably had a little signs of that when it came to concentrating on different things. And we ended up falling out, man, and I ended up not playing my junior year. And a new coach came to our high school and a bunch of buddies of mine who were there on my junior year talking me into trying out for him. And, he just brought a different attitude to the team. He was an older guy, and he commanded his respect. And I think I bought into what he was preaching at the time, and I played my senior year and had a successful senior year. But after that, I wasn't getting offered to no colleges or anything. So my story is long because I didn't get that high D1 opportunities, early on, and didn't really know what was the next step for me. So I ended up just working at Kmart. That's the beginning of my story. That year after I got out of high school, I just worked at Kmart, and my Coach Sims, who I was talking about, said, "You know what? You should be playing ball somewhere, man, and I can help you with that if you're serious." And he walked me on to Santa Ana Junior College, and kind of the rest was history.
Why didn't you play at an early age?
You know what? I think it was that ADHD that I was dealing with. I couldn't focus, man. Just really didn't know what I wanted to do. I think it was more so I was raised by my great grandmother at that time, and my older brother played football, didn't play basketball, and I thought I was going to be playing football most of the time, and that didn't work out because it was my freshman year. They were doing that pancake drill when you lay on your back and the coach blow the whistle and you go head up. And after that drill, I was done with football. So those 2 years and 3 years after that, I just kind of drifted through high school, man. And then that's when I tried out my junior year, and that didn't work. So just didn't ever really take it serious.
I had a great grandmother that used to watch me on weekends when I was growing up. My parents were divorced when I was young, and she was much, much older, as great grandparents tend to be.
Yeah.
How old was your great grandmother? She was raising you?
My grandmother, she was in her late 60s, early 70s, and that's the thing. Like, she couldn't do much with me and my brother, man. We were Monrovia, California at that time. It was a lot going on, and young men doing young men stuff, and we just was out there trying to figure out life, and her only thing was like, make sure you're in before 12 o'clock or you get locked out. So that's all we was focusing on, making it in before she put that latch on the door. And that was the focal thing that me and my brother concentrated on, to make sure one of us was in the house before she put that latch on the door.
Did you ever not get back in time? Did you ever get locked out?
I did get locked out. And, during my senior year, I had long fingers. So I had developed this skill set where I can sneak in and crack the door a little bit and put my finger around there, and I never forget.
The safe cracker.
One night I was going in there to do that, and then all of a sudden I just felt a skillet bang against my knuckles. I told you, don't you come in here after 12. So after that, I was in there before 11.
No more undoing the latch with your long fingers.
Thank God these fingers survived them poundings. But yeah, that's kind of how it was at our house.
So the 2 years at Santa Ana,
yeah,
that was a powerhouse team. Did you win 2 national championships?
We won 2 state championships.
Okay.
At that time, California didn't participate in the national junior college championship because we had over 100 and some colleges. And from what I was told, they just didn't want us to participate in it. Those 2 teams that I were involved in, we were begging them to let us play in it because we felt the way we walked through California, we felt we would have won the national junior college championship too. But no, so they weren't participating at the time. And so we won back-to-back state championships. Yeah.
You played with Eric Martin.
Yep.
You played against Terry Nelson.
Yep.
That's where this bond began to form.
Correct. Me and Eric played against Terry in the championship game my second year at Santa Ana Junior College, and we just remember Terry. I remember going over the scouting report, and he was the focal guy on that team, like athletic, ran the floor, very versatile player that the coach was telling us one of us would have to guard, and that was Eric's job. And I think the advantage we had size. And Eric was probably one of the best finishers around the basket in junior college basketball. So we ended up beating him. That's my claim to fame. Terry always, is not happy to hear that, but we ended up beating him. And after that, we just started playing open gym around the city. And I never forget, one day I was going to the gym. I had this old beat up car, and I was sitting outside my car tying my shoes up, and Terry was walking in the gym, and he was like, "Hey, see Blount." I'm like, "What's up, man?" He says, "Is that your piece of crap?" I like, yeah, Terry's a comedian, so he just started ragging on me right there, and I was like, "That's all right. I'll make up for it when we get in the gym." And we played our butts off that day, and after that game, man, we just all went up to Denny's and got something to eat, and that's where our friendship really began after that.
So your second year at Santa Ana, you're one of the best junior college players in the country. And probably for the first time in your life, now people really are recruiting you and want you and saying that you can make it to the NBA.
Yeah.
What was that like, considering where you had come from?
Well, no one said NBA, but it was possibly D1 offers. You know, that's the transition that I remember most because, like I say, my story of being a good basketball player really didn't start till I got to junior college. So people who knew me before that, when I told them I was going to junior college, they was just like, okay, good job, you know. And then first year we won the championship, they were, oh, we see you doing pretty good. And the second year, like, man, you got a chance to really do some things. And that came from the support in my community after I won the second championship. So during that phase, man, it was just the recruiting letters were coming in, the way we were winning, and the other guys we had on our team were getting that same recognition. But, you know, I became the focal point of that team, basically being the one of the three guys to return to that next year's team. And when it came to the letters and the recruiting opportunities, I wanted to stay local. I wanted to go to USC. And then my junior college coach, Dana Padgett, went to USC. So I'm thinking that's a shoo-in for me to go there. And come to find out, USC at the time would not accept junior college transfers. And the reason was because our graduation doesn't go towards their graduation rate. So they don't get no credit if we graduate. That's the story I was told. So
their mistake.
Yeah. So I started taking my trips, and I went to Tennessee. I went to Utah, which that's an interesting story in itself with Rick Majerus. Really liked him. He was the first coach to tell me that if I played for him, he'd make me an NBA player. So I was sold on that just off the conversation. And he was a great guy, man. That whole trip, recruiting period, was just a wonderful time with him. And then at the time, that's when Coach Moeller started sticking his head in the gym and was saying that he was interested in Terry Nelson. And we were at one of the open gyms, and he came up to Eric and was talking to Eric, and I walked up, and he was like, hey, man, you know, really excited about your how you've been developing and how's your game progress. You're one of the best players in the state, and we'd really be interested in bringing you also. And he said, but I heard you made a verbal commitment to go to UNLV. And that was my second choice. And that year, that's when they fired Tark and Raleigh Massimino came in and took on. So I kind of, I don't want to say brushed him off, but I wasn't as interested. And that's when Terry told me that he was interested in Cincinnati. So Mo got us all together one day and told us how phenomenal he is and how phenomenal the University of Cincinnati is, which I had never heard of. The University of Cincinnati basketball program. I like telling the story. Only thing I knew about Cincinnati was WKRP in Cincinnati.
Great show.
Yeah. Knew the song and everything. So that was it. And he was just telling me how, you know, Coach Huggs was a new coach and how he was changing the trajectory of the program. And I was just like, okay, you know, nice meeting you. And Terry said, man, I'm going to take the trip. And I was like, well, if you go, let me know. You know, let me know how it is. And I was supposed to go to Arizona that day, and I didn't. And I called Terry and was like, man, you still taking that trip? He's like, yeah. I said, see if I can go with you. And he said, okay. So I arranged it with Coach Mo, and that's when I took the recruiting trip out here with Terry Nelson.
Did you take that trip for the fun of going on a trip with Terry, or were you really thinking, maybe I'll consider this place?
That was it. I only took the trip to have some fun, you know, because me and Terry was talking about that whole opportunity the whole time. Never really considered myself signing at the university. It was just a chance to come back east. Never had been this way, and then going with Terry anywhere was always a fun time. So we came out here, man, and had a ball. Like literally had a ball. I met Coach Huggs did come see us before we came out here, but had a ball, man, and met A.D. Jackson and Anthony Buford and Herb Jones and them guys. And we came back, and Terry did a great job of selling Eric on, man, you need to come with us. And that was he was the brainchild of that. He's like, man, just imagine if we all go to the same school, what impact we would have. And I was like, man, I don't know about Cincinnati. And then Eric said, well, I'll take the trip, Corie, and I'll let you know. And he made the trip and came back like, I'm with it. And we did like the Three Musketeers, man. We put our hands together and said Cincinnati. Everybody was pissed, Dan. Like people,
Back home.
Oh, they were pissed. They got 3 of the best junior college players, and a lot of people thought we got paid or they did. It was just us saying, man, we're going to go to the same junior college. And a lot of coaches were pissed. A lot of my family was pissed because nobody knew about Cincinnati. And one event that took place was, I'll never forget, Cincinnati was playing their first football game, I guess, on national TV. They played Penn State, and they got beat 82-0.
81 for the record, but yes, it was not good.
Yeah. And so everybody was like, that's the school you going to? Like, man, I'm not going for football, man. Which I didn't know how good the basketball team was going to be. But so that was one of the things everybody was mad about that. Like, oh, I mean, my grandmother, she the one who said, man, you go there and you have, you have a good year and let it happen. And it was history after that.
For the record, traveling with Terry is still fun.
Yeah, I'm sure
so
it
that
is.
hasn't changed. So Terry describes going on that trip and getting like the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde reaction from Coach Huggins, this mild-mannered guy, during the recruiting process. And then you come here and it's very different.
Very, very different. I mean, you didn't heard all the stories, but I think one of the most memorable moments for me was when Hugs came to visit me and my great-grandmother, and he came in, he had his little suit on, and we're sitting at the table, and he put these 5 pennies on the table, and he's telling me about his open post offense. Like, with your athletic ability, we won't need you banging in the paint or wrestling with guys bigger than you. You'll be able to play on the wing. You'll be able to run up and down. And I'm like, man, this is that sounds like some great basketball right there. And we get here, and so he's going through the spiel, and at that time I had took my trip to Arizona State, and I really liked it. I had a great time at Arizona State. And so he's going over his spiel, and my grandmother's sitting there, and she was like, well, Mr. Huggins, sounds like you guys got a good program, but based on what Corey's telling me, he's really interested in Arizona State. And Hugs does it in his mild-mannered, smooth way. He said, well, Miss Kelly, that's Arizona State is a fine school. I know the coach, Bill Frieder, he's a great guy. But are you aware that Arizona State doesn't acknowledge his Martin Luther King's birthday? And she was like, what? No, they do not acknowledge Martin Luther King's birthday.
State of Arizona.
The state of Arizona, yeah.
Yep.
She was like, oh, well, he won't be going to that school then. And I looked at him like, I got to give you props on that one.
One in your pocket if you needed it.
And we laughed about it, man. And then I just came out here and came out here and met him. And I just remember Lou Banks was like, all right, we got you now. You're going to see the real Hugs now. And I didn't really know what to expect, but it didn't take long for me to see that side. And he brought it. He brought it.
Every day.
Every day. Every day.
When did you know that the 92 team had a chance to be as good as it was?
You know what? I think it was during the Devereaux League, when all of us got here and we were playing in that league. And it was, to me back then, the Devereaux League was a lot of talent. That's when Xavier was loaded. Dayton had pretty good teams. And we would come here and we would go there and play. And then I would be able to see the different players that was on. That was my first time really playing open gym is different playing, in an organized setting. And then seeing how Anthony Buford was. Getting to see how bad Herb Jones was. And then Nick came and seeing Terrence and AD and then Jeff and Mike. And I'm like, man, we do got a bunch of guys that could be pretty good. Now, did I think Final Four at the time? Not at all. But I knew we had a good group of guys that could play at a high level. And I was just so impressed with the way that we all it was just rare to me based on how we just got along and everybody bought into what each other was preaching. And I think the defining moment to let me know that we were really good was when we lost to DePaul. Here, we got our butts kicked. And we had a meeting. We had a team meeting, man, and everybody was pissed. And we stayed in that locker room for like 3.5 hours after the game. And we laid down our goals. We laid down, everybody's roles and positions. And we went on a win streak, I think, of like 7 or 8 games after that. And I think that's when we found out we thought we were going to be pretty good. So
we all have Tom Kleinschmidt to thank for leading DePaul to victory over Cincinnati and getting you guys to stay in the locker room.
Yeah, they had some other guys on that team that was pretty good too. But yeah, that DePaul team was the thorn in our heel at that time. DePaul was. Yeah.
So I work with a lot of guys who have made it to the pinnacle of their sport only to come up this short.
Yeah.
Dave Lapham played in the Super Bowl. They lost to the 49ers. Tony Pike played in the Orange Bowl and Sugar Bowls. They lost to Virginia Tech and to Florida. So for you guys to come that close, make it to the Final Four, lose to Michigan in the semifinals, do you look back fondly, or do you look back with anger and disappointment that you got that close and didn't come away with a ring?
I look back at it with a little more anger, and I'm saying that is because I didn't have a good game in that series, and the reason is because the first play of the game we ran drop 5 for me, and I did a spin move, and the official called me for hooking. So that's 1 foul in less than 2-3 minutes of the game. So now the whole thing, now you're playing not to get that second foul, because you know if you get that second foul, you're coming out. And I think my whole mind state at that time was, man, I just got to be active and not foul, instead of really just, because the game before that I had a great game. So just playing like that. And I watched that game over and over and over again. And I'm just like, how do you make that call that early? Like, you give him a warning or something.
Was it a bad call?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, you don't call on the baseline. I'm spinning, really. I didn't grab him or anything. I did stick my arm out. So if you're going to consider that a foul, then yes, it was a good call. But at that early of the game, usually let that slide and you say, no hooking or anything like that. And what we needed against that team, I was so vital to us being able to compete with those guys, because they were big, Juwan Howard, Eric Riley, Chris Webber. They all 6'10" and up, athletic as I don't know what. So not taking nothing away from Jeff and Rock, but I was the guy who had those minutes to kind of compete at that level. And after that, it was a tough game. We came out on fire though. Nick carried us, Eric played well, Buford played well, Herb played, but they just wore us down, towards the end of it. So when I look back at that game, it's more anger than anything. I would have loved to play those guys again, because I don't think nobody could have beat us twice. Nobody never beat us. Well, DePaul did. But besides that, after those games, I don't think nobody would have beat us twice.
Similar feelings about the Elite Eight the next year against Carolina?
No. And the reason, not that I played a great game, I just thought that was a winnable game for us. And I don't want to blame the officiating, but I did see the tides kind of turn during the second half. Of course, Nick wasn't on fire like he was the first half, but just some of the calls and the things that went on during the course of that game, I feel that we competed at a high level. We took it to overtime, as you know, so we had a chance to win that game. The guy who just feels the world is against me, I think the fact that they didn't want us to, now this is just me off the record saying, but they didn't want us to win anyway, because it was the coach's last year, and I'm sure they wanted him to go out with a bang, and he was one of the most legendary coaches in college basketball, so knew that was going to be an uphill battle for us, but when I look back at it, that's my excuse why we lost.
We don't mind conspiracy theories on this podcast. We'll embrace it all.
Yeah, that's my conspiracy. They didn't want us to win, man. I always had a quote about the way we played and how we were. We were the Rodney Dangerfield of college basketball. We didn't get no respect, and we had to always go out there and prove it, I thought.
I mean, I was not in Cincinnati yet.
Yeah.
I didn't get here until late in 1995, but I think that's true. I think the establishment wasn't ready for a team that was built largely through great junior college players. It wasn't really, it was new for one thing, and people just naturally had a weird feeling about it. It was unfair, but that was the case.
Yeah. I think what we did do was we created an identity for our team, the toughness, the all-out defensive pressure, the tenacity that we play with. And I think the nation kind of bought into that, because one thing I do know, after my 2 years at the University of Cincinnati, or even before I left, when I would go home, I would see celebrities wearing the C-Paw. I would see people walking through the airport acknowledging us of what a great season we had and what we've done for the University of Cincinnati. So I think that was the thing that I take most pride and credit for, that I was on two of the most, integral teams to redefine the University of Cincinnati college basketball program.
There's a famous picture from that era, Tupac wearing a Cincinnati warm-up.
Yeah.
I remember you said a few years ago on Alex Meacham's podcast, you gave him that warm-up top.
Well, I didn't
You're
get
responsible.
Well, I didn't give it to him. I told Alex that I was the reason why all those guys were wearing it. Because if you, Dr. Dre had on a C. Paul had on what was the rap show back then? On the MTV rap show, he had on the C. Paul hat. So I was me and Nick used to always say, the only reason they wearing that stuff because what we did. And when Alex asked me that, like, yeah, I'm responsible for all that because I was from California, being where I came from, and I always tried to rep, that California attitude back then. That was during the NWA era, and when I came, I had my Raiders gear on and my Raiders hat. And, everybody used to see me be like 80 degrees and I'd have a jacket on. That's just what we did in Cali. So I represented that out here. And then when I came home, man, I would feel it. Everywhere I went, people would tell me how they love Nick, they love me, they love Eric, they love Terry. And, Terry being from Long Beach, Eric being from West Covina, that Cali moment was always there based on who we are and where we came from.
And Terry went to high school with Snoop Dogg, so
Yeah,
there's a
he did.
connection there.
Yeah. Terry told me, Terry let me hear one of Snoop's first demo tapes, and the rest was history with him. So we were just around a lot of greatness, seemed like it at that time that we were being able to be involved in.
All right, let's go to the NBA draft.
Yeah.
You watched it at Hug's house, correct?
Yeah.
Did you know that 25th to the Bulls was in play?
So my journey with that is coming out, they were saying I was predicted to be a late second round pick, which, hey, at that time, I'm still popping my collar like, man, that's good enough for me. And then I started going to all these different pre-draft workouts, and I started increasing my value based on how I performed at these pre-draft workouts. Nick was supposed to go around the 8th or 9th pick at that time, so his slot was already solidified. And I remember one time I was packing my bags up, getting ready to go. He's like, "Where you going?" I said, "I'm headed to Boston." He's like, "Dang, man, you like the traveling salesman." You're like, "Man, I got to get it." You know what I mean? So I ended up going to all these different workouts. And then my agent kept saying, "Man, your draft status, they're saying maybe early second round now." And I was like, okay. And so I ended up going to work out for the Bulls, had a great workout there. And then I met with Jerry. That's when I got introduced to Jerry Krause, and he told me, he said, "Man, you know what? We really like what you're doing and how you play and the success you had at the University of Cincinnati. I think you'll be a perfect fit for what we're trying to do with the Bulls. And if you're around, don't tell nobody, but if you're around, we're gonna draft you. We have 2 picks. We have an 8th pick and we have a 25th pick. We got this." He said, "You can't say anything, but we're interested in this kid from Croatia who's a pretty talented player. And then if you're around, we're going to draft you at that 25th pick." So I came back from that workout and told Hugs, like, "Man, I had a great workout." They said, "It's a possibility I might get drafted by the Bulls." So then I went to Boston, who had a great workout for them, and they had the 16th pick. And they were saying, it's a 50-50 chance, but if you might be one of our guys. So that was my little moments I was looking for during the draft, watching it at Hugs. And we were watching it, and the 16th pick came up for the Celtics, and they picked A.C. Earl. And I was like, dang, oh, man. And the other thing, Nick was there with me also. And by him not being picked at his slot, we were just wondering, like, man, when is his name going to be called? And we're sitting there, and then that 25th pick came. And that's when the Bull, walked up and said, from the University of Cincinnati. Now, the crazy thing about that is when he said my name, they started booing. And I didn't really understand. I don't understand. I didn't pay no attention to it anyway. But at that time, the draft was in Cleveland. And Michael Jordan had just beat them. That's the shot, So anytime they said the Bulls, they was booing anyway. Yeah. So I didn't really put 2 and 2 together till later, but that was why they were booing, because as soon as he went up and said the Bulls pick, they started booing like crazy. Then they announced my name. So I was happy, Hugs, everybody, Miss Huggins, we all jumped up, giving me hugs, and Coach Moore and everybody was there. So we sat around and waited for Nick's name to be called. And waited, and he didn't get called to the 36th pick by the Lakers. And of course we was happy. And Nick, being who he is, he was like, man, I'm happy. I'm happy as hell. Like, man, all I want is opportunity. I just needed a chance, and this is my chance. I'm gonna let him know. And I'm like, well, man, let's go. So left Hug's house. They had a press conference for us here at the university, and he ended up going to the Lakers, which was my favorite team, and I ended up going to the Bulls, which was his favorite team. So that was the connection with us with that moment as far as the draft.
The Bulls had just completed their first three-peat.
Yeah.
And a month before the season, Michael Jordan does the famous news conference announcing his first retirement.
Yep.
You were going to be his teammate with Jordan and Pippen and, extend this streak of 3 straight championships. And was there any inkling that was coming?
Not at all.
Nothing.
Not at all. Mike hadn't been around, but Pip and Pete Myers and all those other guys, we were there working out and having open gym and playing around the city and everything at the time. So everybody was excited for the season to start. And then the situation with his dad happened, and nobody really knew how that was going to affect him. And then it was the other conversation about the gambling and all this stuff. So nobody never, at least from what I was hearing at the time, nobody expected him to say he's not going to play. And I remember I was in L.A., and Jerry Krause called me and said, we need you to get back. And I'm like, okay, I'll be back in 5 days. He's like, no, we need you to get back now. We're going to get you a flight to get you back here. And I was like, okay. Flew back, went to the Berto Center, and he was there, and he had the team in the locker room and pretty much saying, guys, I've come to the decision that I'm going to retire due to certain situations. And I don't remember all he said, but it was just like, I'm going to make the announcement in a couple days. I just wanted you guys to know first. And it didn't really affect me at all, at that point, but it made me think back because it was like, before I left, when you sign your contract with the Bulls, they give you a key card that you can go in the gym whenever you want. And I would like to go in late at night, because I was staying by myself. So I would just go in the gym and just shooting. One night I went in there, it was about 11:30, and I'm in there shooting, and I see somebody else coming in the gym. And I'm like, oh, okay, who is that? And it was Mike. This was my first time meeting him. I'm like, dang, that's Mike, you know what I mean? Okay, here we go. I finally get my dream. I get to play this dude one-on-one. That's all I wanted to do. Like, man, I get a chance to play this dude one-on-one. He looked in there like, who that? I'm like, it's Blunt. Like, hey, young fella, how you doing? I'm like, I'm good. So he went in the back, and when he came out, he was like, man, welcome to the team. We're excited about you being here. And I was like, thanks. I said, what you getting ready to do? So I just came to get some shots. I'm like, man, you want to play? He's like, nah, I didn't come here for that, but you're going to get your opportunity. It's just, nah, I'm not coming here to play tonight. I'm just coming to get some shots. And I was like, well, you want me to rebound for you? He's like, nah, I'm good. So, I think he was just coming to kind of do it. I'll just get his mind off some things. And so I sat there and watched him shooting, getting his own rebound and everything. So I just left, and I got on flip phone and called my brother, and then I'm like, man, I beat Michael Jordan today one-on-one. For real, yeah, he came to the gym, I busted his head, lying like crazy, just the fact that I had something to talk about. And me and my brother laugh about that to this day. So that's when that happened, and then just to come to that meeting, I was like, dang, so that's what he was, that was, he was trying to contemplating that he was going to make that decision, and coming in the gym was his relief to do that, I think.
So you're there for his first retirement, and you were there for his first comeback.
Yep.
About a year and a half later, in your second season,
yeah.
He comes back in the spring. What was the spectacle like when he came back?
It was unbelievable. I've been a part of a lot of great things playing this game of basketball, but that by far was one of the most amazing things that I've ever experienced. It was crazy. I needed security. That's how bad it was. People were just trying to get a picture. Back then, that's when they called them picture phones, where you had to flip it up and you got to be this close to take a picture of somebody. So people would just to get a picture, they put their phones dang near in your face. So I just remember that whole process, like everywhere we went, thousands of people trying to get pictures with them little cheap phones. And yeah, it was a problem for me. So I know it was a problem for him, and it was just unbelievable, man. Every city we went to, every place we went, the whole city was on fire at that time, around the nation. he changed the whole dynamic of the NBA when he made. So it was just a phenomenal ride. And the fact that I was able to experience that, that was one of my most memorable times in the NBA right there.
You went to the Lakers the next year.
Yeah.
You were there for a Magic Johnson comeback.
Yeah.
It was his second comeback, I believe. This is when he's now a power forward. He's like 250 pounds. He's bulked up. His game has changed. Yeah. What was that experience like?
It wasn't on the same level of Mike, but it was definitely an amazing event and spectacle because Magic is Magic. He brought the limelight to Los Angeles, and he was always respected. I was definitely a fan of Magic's, so that was more of a eye-catching moment to me because I valued Magic's career more than I valued Mike's. I was a fan of Mike's, but I loved Magic Johnson. So when he would come around practice and be around the Lakers organization, it was always an uncontrollable feeling for me because I wanted to, say something to him or always was in his face. And then when he said he was coming back, it was a give or take moment for me because I was happy he was coming back, but I knew that I was getting ready to limit all my playing time at that time. So, but what he brought back for the Laker organization, you couldn't deny that. And it was great fanfare for the city and everything, and just had a phenomenal ride when he did make that call.
We've only got a few minutes left. You were a coach at Cincinnati briefly. It was after Coach Huggins was let go. Andy Kennedy came in. They wanted to bring you in kind of as a stabilizing force, which I think that you were. And I really think that you would be a great coach.
Yeah.
Why didn't your life and career go in that direction?
You know what? When I think about it, definitely made an impact that year coaching here. Talked to Eric Higgs, talked to James White, talked to Armin Kirkland, all those guys, just to kind of verify that. And they said, man, when you came, you relit the light for us because they were all depressed after Hugs made it, that went through that situation. And so I just brought that kind of respect. And that's what Hugs told me. He's the one who told me that he wanted me to come back and take on this responsibility of being that person to hopefully enlighten his guys back into understanding where they're at. And so when I did it, man, it was just of course it was a phenomenal opportunity, but it was like a dream come true for me. But I was so raw at coaching. All I knew was the rah. I didn't know the intricacies of breaking down the offense and defense. And that's where I experienced that with Frank Martin and Andy Kennedy. So we had a great relationship. And then, as you know, after Andy's first year, they ended up letting him go. And he went down to Ole Miss, and he offered it to me like, man, would you be interested in coming to Ole Miss with me? No, I'm happy here in Cincinnati. So that kind of stopped my ambition to be coaching at that level. I went and helped Andre Tate over at Cincinnati State for a minute, and then when he left, I just didn't take on any more coaching. Got more into my kids and helping them with their basketball and getting more personal with them.
So you're still very closely connected to the UC basketball program. You frequently attend games. You've been to Wes Miller's radio show on a semi-regular basis. What's that bond like for you now?
Man, to me, nothing, and I can say this, nothing is more important to me than the University of Cincinnati. And I'm not just talking about the basketball program. I'm talking about the overall university. I have a deep love for this university, for all that it allowed me to do as far as taking care of my family, but then also developing a family here with my teammates and coaches and everybody in the city. So I have a deep love for the university on all levels. Now that my wife is working here, my kids have graduated from the University of Cincinnati. So I'm a Bearcat. I don't want to say thick and through. I mean, if you dug into the core of my system, that C-paw is in there. I don't have it tattooed on the outside, but it's definitely on the inside. And I deeply love this program. I don't really care who's the coach. I'm going to always have a affiliation and a love for this program, and I'm going to take that with me to the grave. I request that when I do die, if I got a casket or an urn, make sure that C-paw is on one of those. Definitely.
Well, that's not going to happen anytime soon,
no,
thankfully.
Yeah,
as I said at the beginning, a healthy 56, but we got connected through our mutual friend, Chuck Mayshot.
Yes, sir.
He loved you. Yeah. Anybody that Chuck loved, I love.
Man, appreciate it.
And we're thrilled you're still part of this family. Man, thanks for your time, Corie.
Man, thank you, Dan. And you're one of the best, man. I always say that, and I could sit and talk to you for hours. It's like you seem like you know my story because you didn't heard it so much, but I appreciate the time, and I'm always willing to come do whatever you need me to do, man.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, man.